All right, welcome as usual. It's Monday night. Yay! And I'm excited to be here. And thank you guys for being here again for ACIM Talks with Reverend Jim. And it's Monday, May 20th. Hopefully, you have the agenda. That's where we got in trouble with Sherilyn being here. She didn't get it, so I was sending her another one. She received it, and then all of a sudden we got disconnected. So, Sherilyn, I hope you're trying to get back in, and we'll give a shout out to you regardless. If hopefully you guys have the agenda, and you see I switched it around, which I'm prone to do. And since last week, we started with our Oracle Text Reading from A Course in Miracles for the first part of our session. Tonight, I'd like to switch it and continue where we left off in our Unity and A Course in Miracles book. Is that okay with you all?
Sure.
All right. By the way, anything you want to say for the record here before we get into the study? Okay. Oh, let's get our readers together then. Joan is number 1, D 2, Ron is 3, Kathleen 4, and I'll be reader 5. And last week we got near the end of chapter 1. And remember, we went through this table kind of summarizing, summarizing. It was a comparison of unity principles with comparable messages from A Course in Miracles. And we started, we're done with that, except for the summary on page 8. So to get us started, are there any outstanding questions from you about chapter 1? It was entitled Laying the Groundwork. All right, well, let's do the summary of that chapter on page 8 and get started with Joan, okay?
Okay. The history of the relationship of A Course in Miracles and Unity certainly has ebbed and flowed. The Course has at times been accepted and other times shunned. Certainly, the language used in A Course in Miracles often differs from that found in Unity writings. This difference sometimes leads to misunderstanding. Fortunately, today, there is more of an accepting and welcoming attitude toward A Course in Miracles in the international organizations, that is, Unity Worldwide Ministries and Unity World Headquarters at Unity Village, as well as in individual churches and centers. When the 5 basic principles of unity are compared to teachings found in A Course in Miracles, the similarity is quite obvious.
Okay. Thanks, Joan. Let's move on to chapter 2 on page 10. And who's next here? Oh, D?
Yep. One presence, one power. What is it and what is it not? Non-duality. The concept of duality and non-duality are important when considering the teachings of Unity and A Course in Miracles. Non-duality asserts there is no separation from God. This is the nature of our true reality. Unity and A Course in Miracles both try to teach us this truth and to bring this truth into our daily lives.
Well, why don't you read some more till you get tired? How's
Okay.
that?
The best description we found on non-duality is derived from the online site from Science and Non-Duality. Non-duality is a philosophical, spiritual, and scientific understanding of non-separation and fundamental intrinsic oneness. For thousands of years, through deep inner inquiry, philosophers and sages have come to the realization that there is only one substance, and we are therefore all part of it. This substance can be called awareness, consciousness, spirit, Advaita, Brahman, Tao, Nirvana, or even God. But it is constant, it is constant, ever present, unchangeable, and is the essence of all existence.
Wow. Comments, anyone? We good? Who's next?
We're good, and truth is truth. Is I mean, they've got to be teaching the same thing if they're teaching non-duality and truth with a capital T. It can't differ.
That's so hard for us to find out in large numbers. I mean, it does make sense that they'd all say about the same thing. Why has it's almost like, I'll just use me. Okay, here is this simple truth that as a infant or a toddler or a boy, it's not rocket science, but it's like I got indoctrinated a totally different way only to mature into this simple truth. It was like this big divergence. Am I the only one?
Well, because truth isn't just one. And so the divergence to me is learning what's not true. All the things that we learned that weren't truth with the capital T.
True. Why take a divergence? Why are so many religions and other spiritual teachings? How have they diverted us? Let me make my point, because here's a discussion. Do you see the ego at work?
I was going to say it's the ego that's doing it, nothing else. The truth isn't doing it. The ego is driving the religions. So I don't think the spiritual study, different spiritual paths differ. I think anything that's driven by the ego differs.
But my old church would say, don't look at other religions, it's sacrilegious. You have to be a true believer. Okay, the inspired word of God is parenthesis only the Bible.
But that's the religious part of it, not the spiritual end of it.
Right.
But there are a lot of people that are in a religious phase still. Tons of people.
Oh yeah.
And it's almost as though we had to evolve through that to get back to the simple truth.
Yes.
And I say, as you have, I'm just pointing out the ego at work. That's my point. Any other comments? All right, let's continue. Who is it, Ron?
I'm next, yes. This definition is essentially the basic view of both unity and A Course in Miracles. It is predominant in Eastern philosophies and Christian mysticism. Many unity churches open their Sunday service with a variation of the non-dualistic affirmative statement, there is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotence. Many people consider this form of perspective of theological dualistic systems in which they are raised. To them, it says something akin to there is only one presence and one power active in the universe, and in my life, God and good, omnipotence, and I am not God. I am something different and separate from God.
Interesting distinction so far. Let's read a little more. You want to read it, Ron, or pass?
I can read some more.
Go ahead, sure.
When we believe there is God and our separate selves, we are in a dualistic belief system. Dualistic thinking is prevalent in our world. By definition, one presence, one power means non-dualism. There is nothing that the real that is not God. Many are able to intellectually claim and understand the concept of one presence and one power, but are unable to carry this awareness into their everyday lives. The deep and profound implication of this simple statement is everyone is the oneness, commonly called one with God.
You may as well finish, okay? That's
Yes. We find references to non-dualism in the Bible. Many people believe Jesus awakened to the awareness of the Christ mind, the oneness, as his true reality. He knew this as his truth and as our truth. The writer of the Gospel of John reports that Jesus stated, "The Father and I are one." John 10:30 NRSV. The same writer reported Jesus' statement, I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. John 14:20 NRVS. NRSV.
comments.
Well, I'm going to ask if you think we're God.
You're going to ask me?
Yeah, because they brought that point out that if the yeah in the paragraph, the first paragraph of this page.
Okay. Before I answer, let me cop out and pose that same question to some of our other experienced A Course in Miracles student in our panel here tonight.
Because they're making the point saying to them, it says something akin to there's only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotence. And I am not God. I am something different and separate from God.
And was there a counter statement? I mean, why are you bringing? I mean, didn't they say two things, more than one thing?
What did it say? What did I miss?
Well, one of them to me, forgive me, were there other compliments first? Comments? Did I say compliments?
Uh-huh.
Later. Okay, let me put this out there and see if it's relevant. One of these statements says that there's only one presence and one power in the universe, and God the omnipotent. And they said, some people say that means we're all one. Whereas other people say, yes, that's true, but still have trouble seeing that oneness, including them. How am I doing with
Right,
what's
right.
being said? Is that what you're talking about, Dee? And
It is. It is what I'm talking about.
And then you said, do I believe I'm God?
Well, because that's the conclusion. You're saying there's just one power and one presence, and yet
Right.
you're saying you're different and separate from God.
Well, I'll just jump on out there.
I am not God. That's what it's saying.
No, I'm saying absolutely I am God.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
I am. What do the rest of you think?
I don't
No.
think I'm God. I think God's the source. I look at me as a sunbeam that with this totally the same nature, the same characteristics, attributes, qualities, but I'm not the source.
Well, that wasn't the question, was it?
Yeah. I don't think I'm God. I don't think God is the source. And I don't think I'm the source.
Power, the sun or the sunbeam?
What has what? Say it again.
What has more power?
I think the source, the sun.
Sunbeam.
I think they all had the same qualities and attributes.
And how much power?
The same
The
power.
same as the sun. But it doesn't
As
make me the
long as
source.
they're one.
Right. They can't be separate. I believe in non-duality, that's what it's teaching,
Yes.
but I don't believe I am God.
All right. Kathleen, you look like you're ready to chime in.
I believe that I'm God. If I am part of the oneness, then I am part of the source. And when I'm not part of the source, I'm living in the illusion. I'm living in an illusion. But when I am, for me, my understanding is, and I feel to my core is, when I am truly in the oneness, there is no separation from source and myself. There is just pure energy, just the pure energy of source that exists. Because if I then think that I am part of the oneness but still separate from the source, then that's still living in the illusion. That's, it's, you're
No.
still, for me, I can only say for me,
I don't think I'm separate from the source. I don't think that at all. I don't think the sunbeams are separate, but I don't think they're the source.
Let me give another metaphor.
Okay.
What has more power, the ocean or a drop in the ocean?
They have all the same qualities. So
As long as they're one,
right,
they all have the same power. But if I somehow were able to separate a sunbeam from the sun, which is its source, does the sunbeam have the same power now?
I'm saying no, not if they separate, which is impossible.
And
so I'm saying they have the same qualities, but there is that distinction to me.
Well,
the
only distinction, a Course in Miracles makes in lay terms is that the only difference is that the Creator created me and I did not create the Creator.
Correct.
I am an iteration of the Creator. I am an extension, an expression of the Creator. But as long as I'm connected to the Creator, an idea never leaves its source, no matter how much you try to act like it can. Then I have all my power. That's why all the sages say the solution to all of our problems is to know thyself. Yeah. Know that you are not in and of yourself, but that you're a bigger part, you're connected to something bigger than you. And
Right.
that's
And
where the
that gives me
power is.
access to all the power. I agree.
Yes.
Gives me
Yeah.
the same access to all the power that's available.
Yeah. Comments from anyone else? You think we're on the right track? Or thanks for your question, Dee.
Mhm.
Well, the course says that we do the work that we're doing now until we get to the point where but we step over the bridge and go into what no one really knows. Because when you step out of the illusion, so when you, I don't know if I'm explaining this properly,
Mhm.
but if you step out of the illusion, then you're no longer part of the separateness.
Yes. And you can see more clearly. You can see the forest because you can see truly. I can see clearly now.
Well,
Okay? It's that kind
well,
of experience.
but all that we're saying now that you can see clearly now is still part of the illusion, because none of us have stepped over into the oneness. We don't know we won't truly know the oneness until we're there. We
But
can only think what the oneness might be, and that's still part of the
yes,
illusion. But that's us getting closer
yes.
to the place where we step over.
Okay. So I would agree with Kathleen, and using course language for that process, it's called raising our perception. In this world, as high as much clarity as we can achieve is through purified perceptions. That's what the Holy Spirit is working with. That's Spirit's job, to help us purify our perception so much that while it's not knowledge, it leads to knowledge. They call it the atonement, the real world, the happy dream. It's that state where our perceptions are raised so high that we're prepared for God to take this final step without attacking our perceptions.
And when you take that final step, you will no longer have a perception, because there will no longer be a need to have a perception.
Right. How are we doing with everybody here?
I'm wondering what other people, Joan and Ron, think if we're God, or I'm God-like. I think I'm God-like. And I still think that makes me one with God.
All power and all glory is mine.
Right.
Go ahead,
So,
Joan, Ron.
Well, I guess I've been thinking a lot like you, Dee. I think of myself as a speck of God, and like everyone else is a speck of God, and that makes us all one. But as you say, I was thinking I am not the source either. That was my take.
And yet the Course says quite a few times, every part is container of the whole. So I just wonder why you would modify that sentence by using the word speck. Isn't that a carve out?
Like my awareness, your awareness, it's all.
You said I'm a speck of God. And I understand the language, except I want to make sure we're clear on why you use the word speck, because there's no difference in any part. They all are containers of the whole.
No difference in any
It's deep,
part.
right?
well, her speck to me is like my sunbeam. To me, that's how I took her speck. Like I'm seeing me as a sunbeam, but not God.
And so you see how we respect this terminology here in the dream. In fact, this thing can't be divided. In truth, there are no sunbeams, just the sun in all its glory, in all its aspects. There's no separation. They're just an expression of one thing, one glorious thing. It's exciting, isn't it? It's dynamic, it's alive.
I think here in the illusion, what I can understand what Dee is saying, but I would say the sunbeam is an extension of source. And if you're an extension of source, you still are source.
It's a
You are no different.
Right. I think we have the same qualities and attributes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
However,
But
we can respectfully speak of it as a convenience, as an accommodation here in level 2, and just say, okay, that's not really it, but in the world of form, you could see it that way. There's source and extensions. But words themselves are separators. Do you see the trick? I'm sorry, am I getting too nuanced here?
no, I
No,
just don't see it the same way.
But that's
No,
good
and that's
enough
fine.
for now.
Yeah.
This is fine.
Yeah.
So
But you know,
there's
to me, they
sun
were
and
making
sunbeam.
fun. They were making fun of my view. I mean,
Oh.
I don't care that they were making fun of it, but that's what they're saying. They're saying it's impossible. If it's non-duality, how could you
Oh.
not be God?
So your concern is that the opposition is from this statement. It conflicts a bit with yours, right?
Yes.
Okay, I can
Yes.
respect that. One last comment here. Why did they put the last paragraphs in from the Bible?
Why did they?
It's, I mean, they had made their point generally in the previous paragraphs, but they went on to say we find references to non-dualism in the Bible, and it was this double talk statement from Jesus. I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. That last
I
passage,
think they're trying to make their point.
which is
about non-duality.
which is everything is fundamentally one cloth, the same thing.
Yeah.
We doing good here?
I would
I
like
want
to say something.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to,
That's all
I
right.
believe that we are one with God and that God is more powerful than we are. An example of that would be the ocean and a drop of water. I believe that the ocean has much more power than a drop of water, even though they're made from the same thing, so to speak.
Mhm.
I
I don't,
appreciate
that
your comment.
complicates it, just another way of looking at it, my way.
Well, I
You
think
have to
your
be
way
careful
is
about
more
what I
common.
were talking about, like my spirit, my higher self, whatever you want to call it. But I think when we say I, the tendency is to speak of the ego, which is not part of it. So
Mhm,
you have to be careful using that pronoun
mhm.
I.
Okay.
I would offer that the only reason that a drop of water could have less power than the ocean is if you separate the drop from the ocean, it would lose power.
Well, it would lose all power then.
Its power came from joining.
Right.
Do you see why healing is wholeness, is rejoining?
Well, we never did. It's an impossibility for the wave
Right.
to, as I've heard it described, walking down the beach on its own.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
We're
So when,
separated, but
yeah,
with the power of free will, we could imagine that we did. It could
right.
never be more than imagining. So the solution is simple. Come home.
Mhm.
Oneness cannot be two-ness.
Mhm.
All power and all glory
Yeah,
derives from that relationship.
yeah. I think as we go on and read read what comes next, it will help clarify it.
Then why don't we do that? We are up
Well,
to,
thank you, everybody. I
No,
appreciate the
no, thank
discussion.
you.
you
It's
know,
always good to have different perspectives.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
total.
that's
Yeah.
why
Thank you.
we're here. Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
Kathleen, let's do a little more. We've got a
Okay.
few more minutes.
A Course in Miracles. The following quotes demonstrate the stance on dualism that is presented in A Course in Miracles. The first in time means nothing, but the first in eternity is God the Father, who is both first and one. Beyond the first, there is no other. Therefore, there is no order, no second or third, and nothing but the first. While the first sentence sets up the second, it is the second sentence in which we are most interested. This sentence asserts there is only God. If that is true, then we must assume our true nature is God. Here, A Course in Miracles is speaking to the omnipresence of God. There is no time, no place, no state where God is absent. And here we have a statement of non-dualism. What comes from God is God. All things that come from God are one. They come from oneness and must be received as one. This does not include the physical universe or the physical body, because in oneness, these are illusions and unreal. See Chapter 10, Concepts of the World and the Universe. And here are more quotes on non-dualism. You want me to continue?
When you're ready for someone, just let me know.
Oh, no, I can go. Heaven is not a place nor a condition. It is merely an awareness of perfect oneness, the knowledge that there is nothing else, nothing outside this oneness, and nothing else within. You are God's Son, one self with one creator and one goal, to bring awareness of this oneness to all minds. The true creation may extend the allness and the unity of God. The statement God created man in his own image and likeness needs reinterpretation. Image can be thought of as thought, and likeness as like of a like quality. God did create spirit in his own thought and quality of his own. There is nothing else. God is all, is in a very literal sense. All is in him who is all being. You are therefore in him, since your being is his. Nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Here within lies the peace of God. This final quote clearly states the distinction between the real and the unreal. To the Course, only what is external and unchanging is real. For instance, appearances are shown to be unreal because they change. Reality is changeless. Miracles but show what you have interposed between reality and your awareness in unreal, and does not interfere at all. I, Jesus, have said that only what God creates, or what you create with the same will, has any real existence. We are at peace when we stop getting upset and reacting to the seemingly dualistic world we live in. Only God is real. Our dualistic thought system and physical world are unreal.
Thank you. Thoughts? Is this confirming or proposing something new, something you don't get, disagree with?
I think I agree with everything else, except that one point made earlier, but I agree with this whole description of what non-duality is.
You know, I've heard some old timers, God, I'm getting to be an old timer now with the course, who would say that nothing real can be threatened, nothing real exists. And then actually it was from the disappearance of the universe where Arten and Persa collapsed even that. And it was kind of like God is drop the mic. They didn't say drop the mic.
Mm-hmm.
But if you elaborate further, you're going to start lying.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one. Stop. It's not complicated. Do you see what a course says? Complexity is of the ego.
Absolutely.
If we don't interfere, a grade schooler could probably understand this. Yes?
Yeah.
More comments.
Depend on if the grade schooler has been indoctrinated or not.
Precisely. Earth, Wind, and Fire, their first big hit was called That's the Way of the World. And they said a child is born with a heart of gold, and the ways of the world makes his heart so cold.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see that this is not a journey somewhere, it's a journey backwards. And through the erasure of forgiveness, we'll get rid of all these mistakes and assumptions. And what will be left is what always was.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be willing. And that gets a little tricky for folks that really wanted separate heavens or were taught to believe that they did. There's nothing to be gained from separate heavens. It's the loss of power, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you see it? I mean, in time, how many, I don't know, millions of years have we tried to hold on to separate heavens? And I'm learning the reason it don't work is because it's not true, and therefore it could never happen. And why keep on being stupid? Why not try something different? If nothing else, maybe it'll work. This sure isn't, is it?
I'm with you.
Thank
The
you.
definition of insanity to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
More comments here. Well, if it's all right, let's switch gears and get into our Oracle text reading. We're in chapter 3, the innocent perception. By the way, we left off on page 13, right? Where it's
Yes.
unity.
Right.
All right. So in A Course in Miracles, we're still in chapter 3, but we did finish all the way up through Roman numeral 4. And tonight we're ready to start Roman numeral 5 on page 44. And I think it's my turn, right?
Right.
Is everyone there?
Yeah.
All right. Roman numeral 5, beyond perception. I have said that the abilities you possess are only shadows of your real strength, and that perception, which is inherently judgmental, was introduced only after the separation. So no one has been sure of anything since. I have also made it clear that the resurrection was the means for the return to knowledge, which was accomplished by the union of my will with the Father's. We can now establish a distinction that will clarify some of our subsequent statements. Okay, why don't we delve into that? We're back to Joan. Why don't you do sentence or paragraph 2, please?
Okay. Since the separation, the words create and make have become confused. When you make something, you do so out of a specific sense of lack or need. Anything made for a specific purpose has no true generalizability. When you make something to fill a perceived lack, you are tacitly implying that you believe in separation. The ego has invented many ingenious thought systems for this purpose. None of them is creative. Inventiveness is wasted effort, even in its most ingenious form. The highly specific nature of invention is not worthy of the abstract creativity of God's creation.
Comment? You already
So,
go ahead.
yeah, it's saying we're not, well, I guess if we're separate, we can't even create like God does.
It's talking about, to me, the problems that separation has caused us.
Mhm.
One of the things is the idea of needs. And here's an example of what you do based on the mistaken belief that you have needs. You invent stuff to serve your needs instead of having faith that your needs will all be met. How am I doing? What are the rest?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Okay. Ron?
So inventing comes from us and creativity comes from God. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as though we wouldn't be taken care of, we meet stuff to meet our needs, but it's stupid because we have no needs. The whole concept of needs come from the mistaken idea of separation. It's another example of what separate heavens brings into play. It don't work. Comments?
If we say separate heavens doesn't work, and I agree with that, we can also say separate gods doesn't work. Because we're taking the power of God and putting in more than one place. We're diluting God, so to speak.
Nothing you make, thou shalt have no other gods before me. It's a testimony to your separate self, but in the scheme of things, it won't last because it can't work eternally. You know of anything that we've made that will stand the test of time?
Nope.
No.
It's faulty. It's a substitute. And we're starting to get wind of a fountain that never runs dry. How are we doing?
Yeah, so it's just a seeming need. We really don't have needs.
Which makes it all the more ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
Consider the lilies of the field. They do not work nor toil. And look how well their Heavenly Father takes care of them. How much better do you think He would take care of you if you let Him? Okay,
Only the ego has needs.
correct.
Mhm.
Correct. Why? Because the ego subscribes to the theory that I am alone and I have to take care of myself. And I can't trust anyone else because treachery is all around me, which is really the result of that deep-seated guilt, which is the ego, that they've done something wrong. But how could they have done anything wrong? Do you see it moves from tragic to ridiculous? The whole story is a misunderstanding, but one that certainly teaches lessons. There I am back to that again, right?
It's the ego that thinks it has needs, and it's it's the ego that thinks I am the ego.
And it all results from the ego's core belief in separation,
Mhm.
in being egoic, in
Mhm.
being selfish. It's really all coming out of guilt that they've done. And deep down, there's this undercurrent of anxiety, guilt. And so when we think we're egos, we take on those attributes. One of the things I learned from our summer study last year, one of the new things that really hit home for me is the idea that I have no enemies. And I mean, I'm testing it out, and boy, am I living a more carefree life. And so far, I'm still alive. What do you think?
I'm with you.
Who were these people that used to be my enemy? What were these things that I used to think were my enemies? And yet the course teaches you have no enemies. You've been seeing these things in a mistaken way. Take another look. They have another purpose now. The Holy Spirit has transformed all your life encounters to lead you in this direction that you've been praying for. This direction is not like the direction you were going in. So it's understandable that it would be quite different. But if you trust it and start just taking note of the results of the miracles that you'll be able to receive, if you will, if you get your old thinking out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, I'm good. So I recommend it to others. Anywho, shall we go on?
Mm-hmm.
Who's next? Are we up to D?
Yeah, and what paragraph are we on?
I don't know. Where are we?
Three, are we on 3?
That's what I think, but I'm
Yeah,
not
we're on
sure.
paragraph 3.
All
Okay.
right.
Knowing, as we have already observed, does not lead to doing. The confusion between your real creation and what you have made of yourself is so profound that it has become literally impossible for you to know anything. Knowledge is always stable, and it is quite evident that you are not. Nevertheless, you are perfectly stable as God created you. In this case, when your behavior is unstable, you are disagreeing with God's idea of your creation. You can do this if you choose, but you would hardly want to do it if you were in your right mind.
Well, do one more and we'll discuss. How's that?
Okay. The fundamental question you continually ask yourself cannot properly be directed to yourself at all. You keep asking what it is you are. This implies that the answer is not only one you know, but it is also one that is up to you to supply. Yet, you cannot perceive yourself correctly. You have no image to be perceived. The word image is always perception related and not a part of knowledge. Images are symbolic and stand for something else. The idea of changing your image recognizes the power of perception, but also implies that there is nothing stable to know.
Comments? Where are we on 3 or 4?
We finished 3 and 4 just now.
Any observations from anyone?
Just at this point, I understand the distinction that's being made between knowing and perception.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So
And there's a big difference.
so the most spirit can work with here in level 2 is perception.
Well, that's all we have here.
And so I love you all. You love what you made.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll work with that.
Right.
And I'll use that to get you close enough to answer your prayer if you work with me. But Jim, you're in a real mess you've gotten yourself into. It's not an unanticipated mess. I knew you'd go off to a faraway land and it would be a mess and you'd have to want to start coming back home. And I knew you'd need help getting back here even. You think I'm stupid? I am God, the omniscient one. Not only do I know everything, but nothing happens without my permission. So do you really think this is a surprise to me that you get yourself in trouble? I took care of it. But in your sad state, you fight what's wrong and embrace what's not right. I'm sorry, you fight what's right and embrace what's wrong. I got you. I understand. But you know what I got on my side? The truth. It doesn't have to defend itself. It's impenetrable. It's unalterable. You really would you go against those odds? If you were in your right mind? Comments and we'll start closing.
If I was in my right mind, no.
You wouldn't even fight
No.
what is. Moreover, when you look at what it is, you wouldn't even want to. Who would fight love?
Well, if I was in my right mind, I would know the truth. I wouldn't fight. No.
Okay. So the strategy is I'm going to raise your perceptions to prepare you for God's final step, because he can't answer this question if there's conflict and dissension about wanting it, because you have free will. So you have to want it of your own volition. Do you see the plan? Or as I see the plan, ladies and gentlemen? Isn't it an excellent plan?
It is.
It's beautiful, man. All right, we end it with paragraph 4
Yes.
on page 45, right?
Yes.
So we'll start paragraph 5 next time.
Mhm.
Did you have fun?
Mhm. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Very good discussion tonight.
Yeah,
Yes.
speaking of joining, I'm thinking about what a wonderful audience I have here and how we are able to kind of play off each other for stimulating and valuable insights.
Mhm.
So I wish you a good rest of the week. And hey, keep the faith. I know I'm gonna. Like, what choice do I have?
Yeah.
I'll see y'all next time.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
night.
you, everybody. Have a blessed week.
You too.